Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner, episode number 262, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, the classic 1991 film that we will be celebrating in honor of Mother's Day and also AI. It's a wonderful combination. With
Mom
me
loves
tonight,
Terminator.
we'll be back. And with me tonight to discuss this classic from 1991 is my friend, my co-host, the one and only, Mr. Ross Amico. Ross, how are you?
Doing well, Roy. How you doing?
I'm all right. And you should be saying to me that phony cheerfulness tells me everything, Roy. That's actually a quote from Space 1999. Or we're hereabouts anyway.
I'm confident we'll get each other worked up in a bit.
Yeah, there we
go. Don't let the sweat show, Roy.
Nah, never, ever. Anyway, just want to say hi to the folks that are out there joining us, Ross. I see Linda is joining us from Canada, and she's saying, crack open the popcorn. Hey, Linda, thanks for being out there. And Lou is joining us. Lou is joining us from Rhode Island, and he's joining us on YouTube tonight. Welcome, Lou. And also, Randy Lee is out there joining us from Wisconsin, and he's saying greetings, or is it hasta la vista?
Yeah. Every time somebody says hasta la vista, I'm gonna go. Just leave. Good night, everybody.
Shari's out there, and she's saying, hey, guys, had fun watching this the other night with you, Roy. Hadn't watched it in a while. Really enjoyed it, especially the chase scenes, as opposed to the shower scenes.
No shower scenes in this one.
No, I actually enjoyed that too.
I think in Total Recall there might have been one.
Total Recall,
but we don't recall it.
Is that supposed to be funny, Ross?
No, I think there is. Is it Sharon Stone? Who's in it? There is his wife.
Did you say Shower Stone?
Yeah, Shower Stone. Sharon Stone. Am I slurring my speech? I didn't even bring alcohol tonight.
Oh man, I'll tell you. Linda's saying, for what it's worth, I meant to ask. The Facebook page looks quite different. I wasn't able to track down the show my usual way. Yeah, everything's changing. And again, this movie we are celebrating because of Mother's Day weekend. So for everybody that is a mom out there in any capacity, we're wishing you a happy Mother's Day ahead. And, it's coming up in the next 2 days. And also, AI seems to be something that we talk about or is mentioned on a daily basis now. There isn't one day that seems to go by where AI is mentioned in the background, it's mentioned in the foreground, it's mentioned up front. It's just mentioned. So it was only appropriate to talk about this film. Right, Ross?
Yes. Remember when we used to joke about our robot overlords?
Yes.
Now they're here.
Yeah, they're here. And they're here to stay.
It's only going to get worse. So when Roy suggested let's do this, I said, sure, why not?
Yeah, Russ was all in.
I was all in.
Shari's saying, don't think there was a shower scene in Total Recall. Wish there was. Lots of laughs. But did enjoy the naked bodies that landed on Earth in Terminator.
Terminator. That's right. There were some naked bodies in this one, too. Wait, wasn't there? Didn't she get out of the shower? He got out of the shower at the beginning of Total Recall. I don't know. I only ever saw it in the theater once. I don't remember.
I don't remember.
My timeline is totally off. I thought the Total Recall came after this. It was actually before this. So I didn't, obviously, I didn't totally recall it.
Oh, man. That's going to be the ongoing joke of the night, isn't it? Total Recall. And as our numbers and our viewership dwindles down, yeah. I see the numbers are shrinking, Ross.
I don't feel like I'm 100%, but I'll get going here.
I know I'm not. My allergies are just like in full bloom. I wish I could terminate the allergies. Did you get that, Ross?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I got it.
Right.
Randy saying Terminator like robotics are becoming more like reality these days. My Roomba just roams the house, plotting revenge and vacuuming passive aggressively.
Whoa. Yeah. Imagine if it teamed up with your Zuni doll. What then?
Oh my God, the 50-year-old movie. I still can't get over that trilogy of terror was like literally 50 years ago. How can that be, Ross?
I don't know, Roy.
Do you have an answer for that?
I don't, because I'm old now.
Okay.
My reflexes are slow. So.
You're rapidly seeing the delete key being punched as we attempt to get through this first 10 minutes of the show.
Yeah. But anyway. So you know, we on, was it Wednesday or something like that? It's like, hey, are we doing a show?
Yeah.
I said, sure, throw me some suggestions. And I said, Mother's Day is coming up. I said, it's too bad that we already did Alien because the computer was Mother.
Right.
And Alien. And then Roy came back with, well, let's do Terminator 2. And, you know, he's been wanting to do that for a while. I know he's crazy about the time travel. And, you know, we haven't talked about it yet. And it was a good movie. So I said, sure, why not?
Yeah. So it's got the Mother's Day connection because of Sarah Connor and her son, John, who she's really trying to protect.
Right.
And then also there's the AI connection.
Yeah. It's gotten more topical. Yeah.
Hey, Jack. Jack is out there joining us. Welcome, Jack. Good to see you there. He's saying we are doing the time warp. Yes, we are.
The time loop. Don't you love movies with time loops?
There really is. We're living in it right
your brain starts to bend around and say, wait a minute. So if he's learning to create these Terminators by this chip from the future that he created, it's like, where did it start?
And where does it end?
And where does it end? Yeah, where's the time loop go here?
Star Trek has dealt with that on numerous occasions, but we won't go down that rabbit hole tonight.
That's one of the things about the time travel movies, when you start messing around with time loops, like Somewhere in Time with the what was it, a watch or the
watch.
ring? The watch it was. Yeah, it's like, wait a minute. So where did the watch come in if it keeps passing through time?
Right.
Where did that start? Yeah.
And it was just because of a penny. It wasn't a penny from heaven, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, but we try not to think too hard on these things because they're just entertainment. They're fun stories.
Right.
Although this one has a...
Come with me if you want to, Roy's tie-dye. Oh, boy.
Come with me if you want to live.
Yes. Yeah, I got it.
So, but anyway, yeah. So when did we first see this thing? Let's get the show on the road.
Let's start swinging the bat.
That's your question, Roy. That's your question. You're supposed to say, so Ross, when did you first see that?
but Ross, you asked me, so I have to.
Go ahead. You have to answer now. Now I'm the host. We're going to change the.
I do remember seeing this film. I have a very clear recollection of seeing this film.
You totally recall it.
Saw it by myself on an afternoon in the summer of 1991. And it was at the Easton Eric, and there was not a lot of people in the theater because I went during the day. And I just remember just going to the theater to see it. And I really liked it. I enjoyed it. It was, I did not see the first film, Terminator, in the theater. I saw that one on Prison. Yeah. But I was pleasantly surprised by this film. And of course, as we remember, I mean, God, this is like 1991. And this film is being depicted. I think everything that takes place, isn't it like 2029? That's like four years away from now, where things run amok. So that's
2029 is when the supposed apocalypse takes place. The nuclear war that ends civilization is supposed to be 2029.
And that seems so far away. That was like 38 years in the 30. No.
Oh no, it was 2019, or wasn't it? What year was that? No, it was 1997. I'm sorry, 1997 is when the nuclear. You're supposed to have these dates clear because I was like jotting stuff down like crazy. I said, Roy will know. 1997 is when the apocalypse, the
Right.
Skynet apocalypse was supposed to have occurred. The
Right.
robot.
It's August. I'm sorry. And I remember the date. August 29th,
There we go.
1997 is when the
All right.
apocalypse takes place. You're absolutely right. But when Skynet sends the Terminators back from the
right.
into the past,
Right.
that is taking place in 2029,
You're
which
correct.
seemed to be so far in the future in
Yeah.
1991. It was like, wow.
Wow. Yeah, it seems so far in the future, but you know how these movies are, how these science fiction stories are. It didn't seem quite far enough, but yes, it did seem a little bit in the future.
Yeah, I mean, even when you think about it, the fact that, with the apocalypse taking place in the late 1990s, that seemed like, wow, okay, that's a far time. I mean, that was 6 years ahead. It's like a lot can happen in 6 years. But now in reflection, 1997, my God, that's 28 years ago already.
Hey, we watch When Worlds Collide. That's not a lot of time.
But anyway,
Yeah.
as you can see, Ross and I are obsessed when it comes to the time.
When it comes to the Earth's destruction. Yeah. So, yeah. So I saw it in Philly. I saw it at the Eric down there, which was on 19th and Chestnut. It's not there anymore, alas. But it was an old movie palace that the Eric absorbed, and there were a couple other adjacent theaters that they built on, the smaller large theaters. But this was actually a genuinely, it was like, remember how the Boyd used to be in Bethlehem?
Sure.
With the State Theater. It was a little bigger than the State Theater, though. So it was a great experience to see it there. Old-fashioned movie. And I saw it with Paul, my buddy Paul from Easton. So he was down for the weekend, and we went to see that. And yeah, I was genuinely, it's a lost art. Back then, the 70s were a little rough. This is when this whole science fiction movie renaissance took place, post Star. Well, it was already in progress, but Star Wars is really the one that pushed it over the into the blockbuster, where we started getting these things like crazy then, every summer. But by the 80s, it was a well-oiled machine. I've said this before. There was a little bit of that, hey, wait a minute, Jaws made a lot of money. What a fluke. And then Star Wars came out a couple of years later. It's like, wait a minute. We got to make use of the summer here. People are actually going to see these movies. And then it just became this assembly line, like a well-oiled machine where every summer, all the big movies would come out and, they'd make more and more money. And it's funny to go back and see the gross on this film. I mean, it was a big deal because the movie costs around $100 million to make, but that includes the marketing.
Right.
It's not, so it was a lot of money, but it was also a big hit. It was the biggest hit of its year. But it still only made like $520 million, which is
$520 million, but it was $100 million. $100 million, and $100 million is a lot of money. But now these days, when they're making films, that cost what was it? Was it Waterworld? Do you remember when that came out? And that was
Kevin
Costner, and that was like the following year. I think it was like in 92, 93 maybe, and that was like what, 200 million, and it was like, oh my God. And now, it's like that's like nothing.
Those were huge expensive movies. Yeah. But as far as the gross goes, I mean, that's just that's chump change. $500 million is like nothing. Now it's billions they're talking about, the box office. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. I'm running down that rabbit hole again. What I meant to say was that so these were a little rough hewn at the beginning, but by the time we got to the 80s, look at the first Terminator compared to this one.
Right.
I mean, it's just a very basic, low budget, comparatively low budget. It wasn't it wasn't Roger Corman, but but now they had money. It's the 80s and it's well oiled and they know how to do the effects and this and that and the other thing. Even though they kept pushing the envelope, but it was just such a different animal. And I think it's one of the great sequels.
Absolutely. To me, it's right up there. As much as I love Alien, I love Aliens. Aliens. Right. I mean, they're two totally different movies. One's a horror film, and the other one's it's like an action adventure movie.
Right.
And I on a certain level, I prefer Aliens to Alien, but I love both films. Yeah. And the same thing with this. I really enjoyed Terminator, but this movie is just so much more entertaining to me than Terminator, the first one.
Right, right.
And it
And
really knocked it out of the park in regards to awards. I mean, this was the only one I believe that won the Academy Awards and was nominated for awards as well. I mean,
yeah,
between special effects, I mean, in regards to ILM, what was it, Dennis Murin, what he did, and Stan Winston, with this was like right when CGI was just starting to materialize, and it wasn't saturated in everything, and it was used in a manner that was appropriate. So it's not like where now it's like you watch something and you're like, yeah, okay, that's CGI. I mean, but with the effects in this film, especially with the T-1000, it's like, wow, they were incredible.
well, I was struck. I watched it today because I just had a busy week, and I haven't seen it for quite a while. But I remember it very well. But I was struck watching it this time by just how absorbing it was, how good it was, how it didn't run too long like movies do now, where they seem to go on forever, and it's just the constant, overdone CG. I mean, in this, you're having genuine tractor trailers flying off overpasses.
Yeah.
Things genuinely exploding. People genuinely, and Cameron wants you to see it too. Like with the motorcycle stunts, will go into slow motion, so you can see Arnold's double come down on the motorcycle jumps and everything. It's like, but it was exciting. You know what I mean?
It was, especially when he's trying to shoot his rifle while he's like, holding on, the kid's holding on to him.
Right.
Yeah, shotgun. I'm saying the rifle.
Yeah, but it's close enough to Raiders of the Lost Ark, even though we're talking 10 years later. Right. I mean, they still had genuine chases in the movies. So, and the movies, it's not one big chase. It is a chase. You know what I mean? Because he has the big set pieces because they're trying to get away from the T-1000. But in between also, what gives it its resonance is the characters.
Yeah.
Because they're totally, whereas Aliens is totally different from Alien, Terminator 2 is not necessarily totally different from Terminator. It has a totally different feel though.
It does.
The first one's kind of like a grim, nihilistic, dystopian kind of chase. But this one, you've got more of an emotional layer to it. I mean, Sarah Connor is totally different than she was in the first film because she's totally traumatized by it. But the way she handles the trauma and what's going on in the time period between the two films, and how she's just totally toughened up.
But you know what, though? I thought that was realistic that they took that approach, because if they just turned her into an action hero, it's like, really? You know what I mean? It's like she's trying to cope with everything after what she's been through. She had a normal life. Absolutely. And then all of a sudden, in the first film, and now in this, part of what we did not see is her dealing with everything, winding up in a mental, facility because she's trying to cope with everything that she's saying is going to happen. And of course, nobody believes her. Right. So it really has a brilliant lead up to all that. Ross, before we go on, I just want to welcome some of the folks that are out there. Bill just joined us a few minutes ago, so I want to say hi to Bill. Welcome, Bill. Also, Vince is out there as well, so I want to say hi to Vince. Vince is joining us from Stewartsville, New Jersey. Good to see you out there, Vince. Also, just a couple comments that came through, and it looks like Pip is joining us.
Pip has joined us.
Randy is saying Edward Furlong taught Arnold Schwarzenegger how to say "Hasta luego, baby," which originally sounded like a confused Austrian tourist.
Hasta la vista. Yeah.
Bill said Terminator 2 and Alien, same director. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. James Cameron. Cameron. In fact, there we go. I mean, brilliant director. And he likes to use a lot of the actors that he's used in previous productions. And of course, Jeanette Goldstein is in this film playing the stepmom of John Connor. Shari said, Robert Patrick did such a great job. He was creepy and yes, love the effects. Yeah, and what's interesting too about Robert Patrick is that this movie is really what put him on the map. Supposedly he was partly living out of his car. He was living with his girlfriend in an apartment, didn't have a lot of money. basically being a struggling actor. And this film really just changed everything for him, which is really cool. And so well deserved.
Yeah. Now, what was it? All right, go ahead.
And last one I want to put up there. Linda said that's why what I like about this one and Aliens. I'm not really a fan of the action, but I like how they blended science fiction with suspense and action. Absolutely, Linda. Go ahead, Ross.
No. What I was saying though was because you were saying about Sarah Connor and how she it's for the LA River. Yeah,
about how she was coping with everything in the facility.
How she was coping with it. It was realistic, but they didn't just have her come back and be a damsel in distress. Yes. It was a realistic evolution of her character. Suddenly, she's doing the Cape Fear kind of thing in her cell, getting all buff.
Yep.
And she has all the survivalist skills because she's been hanging out with all these mercenaries and militias in the Southern California and everything. So she has the skills, but then her, the big surprise is how they subvert the audience expectations with Arnold. Because we expect what she expects when he shows up, but they totally, and it was brilliant at that point in Arnold's career because we've been watching his movies since Terminator. It had been 6 years or 7 years since Terminator was out. So we were watching Commando and Running Man and
his persona totally changed. And what Cameron did was brilliant too, because what he did was, you do a film preview and they take sections of the movie. And now, Shari and I talk about this all the time. You go to the movies and then you see a preview and it's like, okay, why don't you just show us the whole freaking film now while we're watching the preview? Because you pretty much gave away the beginning, middle, and end. It's so ridiculous. You can't go to a preview should just be that. You're taking excerpts of a movie and they're like, you don't want to give any spoilers, but it's a tease. It's to whet your appetite so you're going to want to see the film, not give away the whole plot within, the 2 minutes that it's being shown, which is what they seem to do today. But what Cameron did was brilliant. He almost made like a mini production. I think it was like $150,000. We're talking about costs, which was a lot of money back then, obviously. And what he did was he did not film Arnie, with John Connor or Sarah being together because he wanted the audience to be surprised that he was going to be a good guy. So you're really seeing the robotics in the future, 2029, of the Terminators and what's going on supposedly. And that's pretty much what they focused on. So for the audience that had only seen the first movie is hearing the hype about this film coming out, they really don't have an idea of what to expect. And obviously people go see the movie and then there's going to be the talk, but initially there was going to be the surprise. And I think he handled that very, very well.
Yeah. And there was no social media. So you didn't have people texting you, or you didn't go on the internet and have it spoiled for you.
Right.
Yet. But so anyway, you bring all these people together, all these characters together, and they form kind of there must have been something going on. The 70s, you could see it in the, you had Kramer versus Kramer, of course, but you had the Spielberg movies. There were always the broken families and these kind of impromptu, like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. You have the makeshift family that comes together kind of thing with Short Round and Willie Scott and what have you, like these metaphorical families or lean-to families that kind of improvised families. And it was like that in this film. Arnold takes on the T-800, takes on kind of the almost a father
role for
John Connor. And so it was interesting how they did that, and there was a genuine arc for him, and actually it becomes quite emotional at the end, which is totally unexpected.
Because he's trying to teach. He doesn't want him to leave, and he knows he's going to shut down. He's going to die. And
I know who expects their Terminator movie to turn into E.T. So when I walked out from the
Bill just commented, the Empire Strikes Back preview you've done today. Luke, I am your father.
Absolutely. I know. Well, and don't think I don't think about it now from the perspective of the younger generation. I missed that whole Star Wars conversation, thankfully. I hope you guys had fun with it.
We did. It was we're regressing here a little bit, but yeah, Ryan and I had a good. And let me tell you something. When it comes to Star Wars, I mean, I'm more Star Trek. Those 1966 to 1969. That's my baseline. That's my arena. That's my wheelhouse. And then also Star Trek: The Next Generation. I watch those from beginning to end. But with Star Wars, it's pretty much I watched the original films. I mean, Joe, your cousin Joe, was, and you guys were the big Star Wars fans. I mean, I definitely liked it. I enjoyed it, but my passion was more Star Trek. But Ryan, in regards to this, the Star Wars movies, he's also into the television shows and the incarnations that are out. And there are so many things there's so much that's happening with that. I mean, I did not watch the Clone Wars. So, I mean, there's 7 seasons of the Clone Wars. I actually went back and watched 2 episodes after we did the show on, and folks, this is a total digression here. So sorry. I went back and watched the last 2 episodes of season 7 because just to find out more about General Order 66 and how all of that came about. And I enjoyed it. The Clone Wars it's excellent. But what's interesting though is if you just watch the movies, of course you have all that open area where you can bridge things together, and that's what they've done with a lot of these incarnations. I mean, Andor is out now, and it's being raved. Warren was just telling me that I think episode number 8 of Andor, if you go online for season 2, is being revered as this incredible episode of science of television. And I've only seen the first 2 episodes of Andor, so I don't know. I'm not up on it, but Rye is just like, he's into it. And in fact, some of the folks that were tuning in then were also pretty much into it. But you haven't been really watching a lot of those Star Wars incarnations, right, Ross?
No, I haven't watched any of them. But anyway, my
MB's out there. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, my point that I was going to make was that people coming up later who came up with the original the prequel trilogy.
Yep.
or I mean it's kind of like, I mean, I don't want to spoil every movie ever made, but I'm not going to say anything specific, but it's kind of like the end of Planet of the Apes. You have to have been there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to have that Vader revelation, I mean, everybody out there in the audience is probably about our age that we're speaking to right now anyway. So they all remember just how shaken you were.
Like, no, I remember.
Blew our minds.
I was in Mr. Fagan's class with Joe, and he had The Empire Strikes Back. He had the novelization, and he was going on about, and this is 1980, and he was saying, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. And then some other people knew, and I'm like, what? And he goes, oh, I don't know if you want to, if I tell you about this, Roy, oh, I don't know. And then I was like, all right. And then he goes, okay, read. I was like, what?
So he gave you the spoiler alert, and you see that you took that forbidden knowledge, Roy.
Yeah, I ate the apple, Ross.
You ate the apple, and you couldn't.
The apple, and there's the Star Trek reference, Ross. The apple.
Oh yeah. It all goes back to Star Trek, Roy. I think it's a little older. I think the reference goes a little before Star Trek.
The apple goes before Star Trek. It was fun.
I don't even know how we got here.
I don't either. Linda just said, Roy said Star Trek is my arena. I had to bring that up. Sorry. That's the closest I can find to the corn. Yeah, no pun intended there. It was just,
Yeah. It's all because I just said I hope your conversation went well.
No, it was. And to your point about that, and again, we're digressing further here. Ryan, and I hate to refer to episode, and we were talking about this too. I hate to have to refer to episode 4 as A New Hope because it's Star Wars.
Yeah. And I always say the original Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. It's the original
Star Wars.
It's Star Wars. That's Star Wars. And then there's Empire Strikes Back, and then there's Return of the Jedi. He is not a fan of Star Wars. He does not like Star Wars. He likes The Empire Strikes Back, and
That's
of
weird.
course, and he thinks that the Jedi is cute. The Ewoks are cute in the Jedi, but he's more a fan of the third film is.
Good.
He loves the third film, and to be fair, the third film is in my opinion, is the best out of the trilogy. The first one I saw a couple of times in the theater, and I think by the second or third time I saw it in the theater, I actually fell asleep during it. It put me out. I mean, obviously the lightsaber battle at the end was incredible with
the first one.
For the first one, episode 1,
yeah. I was pretty depressed by that movie.
Yeah, I mean,
once the lightsaber fight started, I said, if this had just been the whole movie, I would have been satisfied. They should have had the crawl and then the lightsaber fight for 2 hours, and then the end. And I said, that was a pretty good Star Wars movie.
And then episode 7, 8, 9, don't even go there. It's a bunch of trash. I can't even. All I can tell you is that Harrison Ford's in 7. In the 8, it's the main is it's Carrie Fisher, and then 9 is whatchamacallit, Mark Hamill. But I have blocked it out. I think everything that they did with that was atrocious. I loved Rogue One. Rogue One to me was the best movie out of those 3 movies. I just, but anyway, I digress.
You're getting too much into the weeds here with this.
You brought it up, Ross. Hey, Martin's out there. Welcome, Martin. Good to see you out there.
What did it say about Skynet in Space 1999?
I'm going to go back to it. And Bill said that was an episode. That was in episode 7, 8, and 9. Randy said some fanatic jokes that the nuclear disaster that sends the moon flying in Space 99 was actually triggered by Skynet as an alternate method to wipe out humanity. Time travel makes anything possible. There you go.
There you go.
But anyway, so yeah, we digressed just a little.
Yeah.
But thanks for asking, Ross. It was a fun conversation.
Good. So back to Terminator.
So
it's also interesting that Sarah Connor, through her trauma and her constant fear of this knowledge of the impending annihilation of mankind and the rise of the machines, herself becomes dehumanized.
Yes,
you know what I mean. She's not a warm person anymore, and she's just very pragmatic and all about surviving and fighting and maiming and doing whatever she can to kind of get to her objectives. Whereas the Terminator from the first film takes the opposite trajectory and becomes more human.
Right.
So it's interesting that the two characters kind of swap in this. And the Terminator actually becomes the guy that we fear in the first film, the Schwarzenegger, the T-800, who's so imposing. He's still imposing in this one, but he becomes kind of the underdog because the newer model, the T-1000, which is the liquid metal man, which with the innovative, pioneering CG effects. Apparently, this was the first time that a major character was done in CG for a movie, feature film. He becomes kind of the underdog with this. He's a slower. He's not as fluid. I mean, come on, liquid metal.
Right.
And he actually gets a little roughed up in this one. So, it's interesting how he was able to build sympathy. How Cameron and his co-writer William Wisher, who worked on the first film, were able to build sympathy for Schwarzenegger. In fact, after the first film, they wanted to do a sequel, but apparently there was something with the studio where they owned 50% of the film. Cameron only had 50%. He had gone through a divorce with what's her name, Gail Hurd.
Yes,
Gail Ann Hurd, who was always writing and producing with him. So he gave her, part of his share. So there was a big tangled mess. So there was no getting back to do the sequel. But what happened was that Hemdale was running into financial problems finally, and Arnold had just done Total Recall for Carolco or whatever they call themselves,
which was a huge success.
Yeah, so he went to Carolco and said, "Look, I think that they might be willing to sell. They're hurting financially. They might be able to sell you the Terminator franchise." So that's what happened. So that's how they got back in the game, and they were able to do this. So James Cameron was like, kind of like, I don't know. But then the more he thought about it, he sat down with this William Wisher and said, well, this is what we're going to do. Finally, he says, we're going to make it that there's a kind of a relationship, a growing kind of friendship between John Connor and the Terminator. And Wisher thought he was totally joking about that. He wasn't serious. But as they started working over the ideas, they started getting, fleshing out the movie and coming up with other ideas for it. So they got excited about it. But they had it on a very tight schedule. They only had something like 6 weeks to write the script. And then they had 3 months of pre-production. And as it was, they went over schedule and shooting by a few weeks, and they weren't able to make the Memorial Day projected opening for the film.
They had to push it out to the 4th of July weekend, I believe, right?
Yes. And these were very competitive summers, remember?
Yes,
you remember how it used to be. You had, 2-3 big movies opening in a weekend, and they were all vying for that dollar, which is going to be the champion of the summer kind of thing. And if you didn't get a good opening, your film would get lost,
right?
Because they would open, whatever else was out that summer, City Slickers.
City Slickers.
Now, I guess Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, they thought was going to be a big winner, and that did make money, but it didn't make as much as Terminator did.
Yeah, this film was over budget too, because I think at one point they went about $13 million over budget, which doesn't sound like a lot now, but $13 million back in 1990, 1991, when this was being filmed, it's a lot of money. So there was a lot of stress that was going on with that. To your point, Arnold Schwarzenegger had intervened with the studio, and then that's really what got them out of the hot water in regards to that. So
yeah, because he was, his star was on the run. This is what solidified him. He was already a star from the first. Everybody knew Conan and everything, but it was really the first Terminator film that really put him over the top and got him that whole, action hero kind of persona. But this was probably the peak for Arnold, but also in addition to the financial stuff and the stuff with the studios, James Cameron became involved with other movies in between. He wound up doing Aliens, and he wound up doing The Abyss. So he was all, involved in that stuff. So he didn't have time to really work on Terminator as it was. But, it's maybe it's good that it took so long to get this one out. They should have stopped with this one. They shouldn't have done any more after this one, but they sure did make a lot of them afterward.
Well, that was the other thing too. Cameron even thought that the first Terminator pretty much was self-contained and told its own story, and it was good with that. I want to say hi to Jason Zagers out there. Jason, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. He said, commented, T2 is the greatest action movie ever. No, it was brilliant, and it still holds up to this day. I totally agree with you, Jason. Yeah. Leslie is also joining us, saying hello. Hey, Leslie, great to see you out there. And very, very cool. Oh, and congratulations too. Leslie's daughter just graduated too. So kudos for the graduation. So I just want to say that.
Graduated
from college? No, high school graduate.
Oh.
So I just want to say congrats. Martin is saying, did you ever watch the Sarah Connor Chronicles on television? I did not.
No, I did not either. No. Another interesting parallel to this whole Aliens, Terminator film, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, where they managed to kind of surpass the originals to some extent, was the Mad Max films.
Yes.
The first Mad Max that came out, I think might have been 79 or something like that. I think I told you the story before. It was just a total lark. My family, they were big movie goers. And my stepfather just one Monday night said, hey, who wants to go to the movies? I see Mad Max is playing at the Budco or whatever. So it's like, I'd never heard it. So yeah, let's go. And I thought it was going to be just like, and it was like kind of a, exploitation, B movie. But I liked it, a lot. But it was such a quirky film. I mean, everybody was dubbed. I don't know if you ever saw Mad Max with the dubbing. That now it's okay to do the Australian thing, but yeah,
Right.
they dubbed it for the theaters, and all the characters were so quirky. And it was kind of like a more of a Clint Eastwood, Charles Bronson kind of plot, revenge plot, with cars and motorcycles and that sort of thing. But what a leap to when they came out with the Road Warrior, and I think it was 81. Suddenly it was a whole other thing. It's what the rest of the franchise became. It was the post-apocalyptic kind of, that one was really like a Western, where they were trying to, they were surrounded by the hostile forces, and they were kind of like in this Fort Apache kind of situation. But and that movie,
remember what was it, 1985 Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, was it?
Beyond Thunderdome, yeah.
And it was with Tina Turner, right?
Tina Turner, right? Yep. Yeah.
That was a big deal, and she sang the title song, I think, to the movie.
Yeah. And I thought the first half of that was pretty good, but as far as just kind of like expanding what the franchise was, because we didn't have franchises, it was a sequel. Expanding on what the original was back then, there was a lot of that going on, where they were really using their imagination and stretching these in ways that you wouldn't have thought possible. And then after that, there's kind of that almost perfunctory, all right, we're going to go back and do it again. We'll go back and do it again. We'll go back and do it again. They're never quite as inventive after the first sequel, it seems.
Yeah, it started to.
It's not to say they're not good, but they're not like
to
that
degrade. It's almost like taking a videotape and you replicate it over and over again, and then each generation just kind of starts to fade.
Right.
Leslie, I'm sorry. You know what? It's my general anesthesia is kicking.
Oh, you're talking about her daughter.
Yeah, so I was talking about her daughter. She got her BA from Montclair State University.
I totally missed that whole thing. Well, congratulations. Yeah, I didn't understand what was going on there.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
Russ, I'm going to actually pull out just for a minute, and I'm going to leave you solo. So just to talk with the folks, because I have to get something from my throat, because I am coughing up a storm, and I'm muting.
He's got to go see a man about a dog.
Nah. So it's all you, Ross.
It's all me. What shall we talk about? Well, you've all seen my CD collection before, so I'm not going to bother with that. What else can I talk? Yeah, I might cover more topics here, because I won't get knocked off of the subject. But it's more interesting to bounce things off Roy. That's the only thing. So there's not a lot I can really talk about. I guess when we meet Arnold, it's kind of like a fan service thing when we meet the T800 in this one, because you kind of reenact the same elements that were in the same situation in the first film. Again, we don't know that he's sent for good this time instead of for destruction. But he goes through the whole thing where he has to get his outfit, his motorcycle outfit, the iconic outfit with the leather jacket and leather pants and the glasses and so forth. So you go through all that whole thing. But it was very interesting that the glasses kind of symbolize his the eyes are the humanity, because as long as he's got the glasses on, he's kind of inscrutable, and you just see this implacable machine man. But at a point, his glasses get knocked off and crushed and what have you, and that's when he starts really. You see that interaction with John Connor. John Carter's a total different subject. I'm in my Edgar Rice Burroughs phase, or in Edgar Rice Burroughs frame of mind, which is not hard for me to do. What else can I tell you about? What do I got sitting around here in the classic Ross Amico Funhouse? Here's Miklos Rozsa's autobiography. I finally got around to reading this. He's the composer of, a lot of classic movies, biblical epics, movies like Ben-Hur, but he did Hitchcock's Spellbound. And for fantasy fans, he did George Powell's The Power. He did Time After Time for Nicholas Meyer. But I finally got around to reading this, and it's actually quite a good read. If you enjoy classic movies, and if you enjoy classical music, there's a lot of fun in this. And he's got a good voice. It's well written. So it's out of print now, but if you can find a copy. I was just talking about crap, Roy. This was published in 1989, so it's probably worth a small fortune now on the secondhand market. But I've had that forever, but I never got around to reading it until just the other week.
Thanks, Ross. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's her book report. I was just talking about the fan service of the T-800's appearance, and you go through the whole thing of him obtaining his classic outfit with the leather jacket and the leather pants and the glass, the Ray-Bans and what have you, and how the eyes kind of they're kind of his humanity. They're not symbolic of humanity, but you know what I mean, because when he's covered up, he's the implacable killing machine. He's right. the scary but when he takes them off and he has that relationship with John Connor, that's when he starts warming up, and you can see his face, and he doesn't exactly emote, but sometimes he'll kind of smirk or so. Anyway, that's what you missed, and everybody else had to sit through it twice. So,
it's all good.
Yeah.
Let me see. Jason comments. He said, "In my opinion, the Terminator franchise should have ended after the T2."
Yeah.
I recall seeing T3 and was not a fan. Leslie said, "Are you going to Alan Turner musical at Princeton?"
Yeah, there's an Alan Turing. It's not a musical. It's a piece of music about Alan Turing that's going to be performed by Princeton Pro Musica, I think, next weekend. And I don't know if I'm going. I hadn't planned to go, but they're actually going to have. He's the guy who invented the Enigma machine during World War II. They're going to actually have one of the Enigma machines there at the performance. So supposedly after the performance, you can go and actually talk to the guy who's there with it and maybe even touch it a little bit. So yeah, I don't know, Leslie. I can message you about it when I'm clearer on it. It's just a concert here in Princeton.
Yeah, you get a lot of interesting and cool stuff down that way.
Yeah.
And Jason said Termination Salvation was decent. I don't think
I didn't see it, and I didn't see the last one, even though Linda Hamilton was in it, and it looks like she was pretty badass in it. But
yeah, she was good. In fact, Sherry and I went to see that, and that was
Dark Fate. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it was Dark.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that it would get well reviewed, but it really didn't get great reviews. But I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Vince, I'm going to put this up just to make. Do you know?
See, I can't get the comments. You know what? I bet you if I reduce the screen, I may have been able to see. Well, if he's on Facebook, I can't. But sometimes I think I can get him on the right side. Oh, absolutely! I could have talked about vacation for about 2 hours.
Terminator Dark. Yeah, that's it, Leslie. Because I changed the subject. Anyway, getting back here. So now, Ross, how many? On that note, you said you saw this movie with Paul. So down in Princeton, or not Princeton, Philadelphia. Excuse me. Did you see this movie more than once when it came out, or did you just only see it the one time?
I was thinking about that today. I don't know if I saw it more than once in the theater or not. It's possible I may have seen it a second time in the theater, but I saw it at least once in the theater, and I know I've seen it over the years a number of times on cable, but I haven't seen it in quite a while. But yeah, I'm sure Paul and I were completely hungover when we saw it too.
I'll tell you though, it does hold up though. It definitely holds up.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm going to share some of the photos that I got. So, yeah, that whole sequence when he's in the bar at the beginning was pretty entertaining, pretty funny.
Bad Moon Rising.
Yeah. And then you were saying about Linda Hamilton.
Yeah, she was in amazing shape in this film.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that she said too. She really wanted to. She didn't want to be like a wimpy character. And Arnold Schwarzenegger made $12 million for this, and Linda Hamilton made only $1 million, and she definitely, I think, really deserved to make more than that.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good payday, but when Arnold's making 11 million or whatever it is, 12 million, you deserve a little more.
Yeah.
But especially since they had to get her back, you know what I mean? They couldn't have done this story without her. They could have recast the role, but it wouldn't have been the same.
No, it wouldn't have been.
But that was one of the things that actually that was pressure for Cameron. He had to get her back on board. He said otherwise we have to write a different story. So yeah, they should have paid her more. She should have held out for more. But they got married anyway. You know, she got the director. They wound up getting married after this, at least for a few years. Yeah.
Leslie said that she also saw it at the Arc Theater in Easton with a predominantly African American audience. What a trip! And also Edward Furlong.
Yeah, who he's supposed to be 10 in this movie, I think. He didn't strike me as a 10-year-old.
Well, and that was one of the issues that they had because the film did take longer than they anticipated as far as filming. Yeah. So at different points when you're watching the movie, he looks a lot younger than he does at other points.
Yeah.
Specifically, I think when they were doing the scenes in the desert, and you know they were dealing with the you know, her friends. They whatchamacallit, that was one of the earliest scenes that was filmed, so he looks a lot younger than he does later on.
Yeah, because I think he was 12 when he was cast to begin with, so he's older than the. Are you muting?
I am, because I didn't want to like cough in the mic.
Oh, okay. So for once you decided you didn't want to talk over me. Oh, there he. Oh, he's so sinister. Look. Yeah. He's so courteous today, Roy. So gallant.
Don't get used to it, Ross.
Yeah. And there's
Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick. Now wouldn't he be? What if you got him and Ray Liotta in a room together, and they just like look at each other like that? You think they make each other crazy?
What was that film that he did, Ray Liotta, where he was a cop?
He's got the crazy eyes.
Yeah, he was. Oh my goodness! Well, wasn't that with Bridget Fonda, and it came out around '92. What was that movie? You just reminded me of that. And was he in Copland? He wasn't in Copland, was he? No.
Stallone?
No.
And De Niro.
He's actually Robert Patrick his first film was Die Hard 2. He played one of the henchmen, and that was his first break.
Right.
And that was
he was still living out of his car.
But he was still living out of his car, yeah.
Yeah. But this is the one that got him noticed. Yeah, I remember Liotta in the uniform, but I can't remember what the film is now.
I can't think of what that was.
He was in something wild, but he didn't play the cop.
Yes, and that was with Melanie Griffith. I remember seeing
Field of Dreams, of course. Yeah.
Yep, Field of Dreams. He was actually they did a movie in Clinton.
Oh, Goodfellas. Yeah. What's that?
Goodfellas. They filmed a movie right here in Clinton, New Jersey. Well, close to here, and right up the road. And he was in that, and that was probably about 25 years ago. I don't know if anybody remembers that. That's local.
I'm sure somebody's messaged what the Ray Liotta cop movie is by now. Somebody has to know it or have Googled it.
Yeah, I'm resistant to do that because I don't want to cheat, but I can't think of what. The internet. I didn't look it up on Skynet, Ross.
Yeah. I do remember the movie, but I didn't see the movie, so I remember the trailer though.
Yeah,
for it,
but anyway, but yeah, they were both very good in this, and I think Edward Furlong had not done any acting either. This was his first role. I think he had to take acting lessons, in fact, or classes and what have you.
Did you have any photos of Joe Morton? Did you get Joe? Oh, there he is.
Yep.
On the right. I didn't look anything up about the psychiatrist about.
I remember him so clearly. Earl Bowen, the psychiatrist, he was like in everything. I mean, he was a character actor that did a lot of stuff in regards to different films. I mean, he only passed away just maybe 2 years ago, but he's got a long list of things he did. I think Battle Beyond the Stars he was in.
Oh, was he in that?
The Man with Two Brains.
Yeah, well, was he the Man with Two Brains too? Cameron did the art design and special effects for Battle Beyond the Stars. So.
Oh, there you go. And again,
Cameron, they probably knew each other from Corman. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In fact, what was the other film too? Oh, Vince would know. The Naked. He did one of the Naked Gun
Oh, was he
movies.
one of the Naked Gun movies? Yeah.
But he was a face that always would pop up.
Yeah. Yeah, he was familiar. Now, Joe Morton was in a lot of the John Sayles movies, and one of them in particular, I may have brought it up at some point. He made a film called Brother from Another Planet that's where he's an extraterrestrial. It comes to Earth, a mute extraterrestrial. I think we should do that movie sometime.
There we go.
He made it a few years before this. His name in the film is Miles Bennett Dyson. And yeah, Copland is the one I was thinking of, but Unlawful Entry is the one you're thinking of.
Is the one I was thinking of. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. So, what was I saying about? Oh, yeah. So his character, Miles Bennett Dyson. I wonder if they took Dyson from Freeman Dyson because of the science.
That's what I was thinking because of Dyson sphere and everything. And
I
was thinking of, and again,
well, he lived right here in Princeton. He was working at the Institute for Advanced Study.
I'm sure that's why they went with that name.
And Miles was probably Miles Davis.
Yeah.
But so he was the scientist in the film. He was the one that was responsible for Skynet in some capacity. It was kind of like for any fans of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with Zaphod Beeblebrox, where he's his own, through some accident, he's his own great grandfather or whatever. So wait a minute, how did that happen? Time travel. The dangers of time travel. You're your own great grandfather.
It's almost. Did you ever see the Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode Trials and Tribulations?
No, I didn't.
Okay, it was the 30th anniversary celebration of Star Trek, which is kind of crazy because it was made in '96. And what happens is they go back to the time of the Enterprise during the filming of during the time of the Trouble with Tribbles, but the Doctor winds up running into this lieutenant that he's really Dr. Bashir, and he's really taken with her. He's enamored with her, and then when he hears what her name is, he was like, "Oh my God, I think that was my great grandmother's maiden name." And then and it's sort of like what you were just describing. He's like, I got to wind up with her because if I don't, I might not exist. And being responsible for your own existence.
Yeah.
Hey, May. Thanks for joining us tonight. May's joining us from Canada. Welcome, May. Jason also said Terminator 2, also an amazing cinematography and lighting. Red tint days and blue tint nights looks different. The movies today don't even come close. Totally
beautiful.
Agree.
I agree. It just hurts my heart to go back and watch these movies because they're still good. You know what I mean? They're still movies. They're not all created inside of a machine, inside of Skynet for.
And you know what drives me crazy? Yeah. I don't even remember what I was watching. There was something on television. It was oh my goodness. I was just going through the channels. It was a movie, maybe it was even a series, but it was current. And they go so fast. It's like you can't even have a scene that's a scene. They literally jump. And we've talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about it again. It's a style of filmmaking that is current now. And honestly, I hate it. It's just so freaking abrupt. And I don't know. I don't know if it's because people are always in such a rush and they're so impatient when they're watching something now, or whether it be a television series or a film, that the scene has to jump from one point to another without even having it completed, because God forbid the viewer has to go through the entire scene because it might not hold their attention span. I mean,
forget about it. They hardly make them anymore, but forget about it with the musicals. Everything has to be like a rock video. You know what I mean? Everything, you can't see how it's choreographed or how people move because it just keeps jumping around. You go back and you watch these musicals from the 50s and earlier, and you can see everything. It's all done in one or two takes. But anyway, the other thing though is that now, in addition to the quick cutting, imagine that last chase that they did, the night chase. It would have been so claustrophobic and dark, compared to what it turned out to be in the film. And I'm not talking about dark in mood. I'm talking about it would be hard to. and fake. It would be fake. It'd be all computer. There'd be nothing at stake. Yeah, you wouldn't feel like, wow. I mean, that truck exploded for real. I mean, sure, it's not great for the environment and people can get killed, but that's entertainment.
That's entertainment. That's what makes people happy, Ross. or used to.
I know. Used to be entertained by that. Now it's just like we're just like we glaze over. It's like, all right, it's like I'm playing a video game.
Look into the light. Have a good night, Randy. Enjoy the astronomical event. That sounds like that would be fun.
Oh, so what's he doing? Do we know?
He said he's got to drop off. He's going to an astronomy event. He's saying that should be fun. Okay. So yeah, let us know about it next time you come back, next show. And Bill said people are used to viewing things on social media and the attention span. Yes, that's true. That's very true. Yeah, and that's the other thing. So maybe this is maybe this is an insidious plot of Skynet, Ross.
I'm sure it is.
Or AI. Very cool. Yeah, please do.
The other thing I forgot to mention with Linda Hamilton was, and I knew this, but I totally forgot about it, is that she has a twin sister.
She does.
And in that one scene at the end where they're both in the same scene, it's like, what great special effects. Well, it's because it's not a special effect. It's just both in the same frame. And what I really never heard was that the security guard that earlier when the T-1000 replaces the one security guard, he had a twin also that they used for that shot. So these superb special effects for 91, it was actually old school, not even split screen. I thought, okay, maybe it's a split screen, but no, it's his brother.
It's his brother, and that was her sister. Yeah, and she was also used in the when the nuclear the atomic attack has taken place.
Oh, really? Okay, so they didn't just use her twice. Didn't have her hair done differently or whatever.
And interesting about Skybook, Skynet. With that too, they were commended on the effects that went into that ILM did for that, saying that how realistic it would have been had such an cataclysma taken place.
Okay.
Their depiction of what a nuclear holocaust would be like really was very realistic.
That was chilling.
Yeah.
And I remember that was something that bothered me about seeing the film. By Schwarzenegger standards at this point, it was, after Total Recall, it was not as violent. It's over the top violent as Total Recall, but it's still violent. And that was realistic violence, the nuclear blast. So yeah, it was very, very disturbing as it should have been. But now what was the show that's on now that's popular? It's kind of a neo 50s vibe. It's got a retro vibe to it, but it starts off with a nuclear blast like that. The guy plays a television cowboy, and
I don't know. Somebody out there knows, though.
I saw the first episode over at Paul's house. We're still friends. But yeah, I saw the first episode, and it's the kind of same thing with the mushroom cloud at the beginning in Los Angeles, and he's caught in the nuclear blast at the beginning. Ferret time. Okay.
See you, Leslie. Thanks for dropping by.
All right.
I don't know, Ross. Unfortunately, I don't.
Yeah, Fallout.
Fallout.
I think it's called. I'm sure some people here watch it. I don't have any of those Plus channels, so I don't know what that's on. But I saw it at Paul's house. There's a great look to it, but I don't know that I would stick with it myself. It's not my thing. Joe Morton.
Yeah, and sadly, her twin sister Leslie, she actually sadly passed away about almost 5 years ago, and she lived right in Montclair, New Jersey, too.
Oh, really?
That was the only film that she ever did.
Huh.
That time.
Another interesting thing about this, talking about the violence, it's interesting that he asks by he I mean John Connor, the boy, asks the Terminator has to do whatever he tells him to do. The Arnold's character, and he says you can't just go around killing people. So instead he goes around maiming people.
Right.
You live, that kind of thing.
Shoots him in the leg, and
So it's interesting that it underscores the fact that compassion is a human trait.
Mm.
And even though it's going to lead to the extinction of all humanity, even Sarah Connor exhibits compassion in not killing Dyson when she goes. She tries to goes to his house with the intention of killing him to try to prevent the creation of this this network that's going to become Skynet and trigger the apocalypse and wipe out humanity. But so even to the extent of risking our future, she does the right thing, and that's interesting that the characters kind of make that distinction in this film.
Yeah, because with everything that she's been through, and she's on, she leaves her son behind, but with the Terminator of all things, to go on her own termination mission. But then when push comes to shove, she can't do it, and that's where the humanity aspect comes through from her.
And there's also that paradox of what do they call it? The paradox of the paradox of tolerance. I've been reading a lot about this lately. It's one of the ironies of democracy that we're supposed to be a permissive society, and be a pluralistic society, and people are allowed to express their views and everything like that. But if you let it get out of hand, then democracy is destroyed. So it's kind of this kind of paradox of tolerance. How tolerant do you have to be before? So therefore, they have to use violence, ironically, to combat violence in this movie. But it's like that with wars too. I mean, that's how they justify wars.
It's all about the balance, Ross.
It's all about the balance. Yeah, it's Ecclesiastes. There's for everything there's a season, Roy.
Yep.
But yeah, it was kind of a.
You want me to sing, Ross?
I do. That was the lead into your big number, Roy. We try to work one into every show.
Wasn't that the Birds?
Yes, it was. Turn, Roy.
Yeah, turn. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Tis the season.
Yeah. But anyway, so it's fun that they actually put this thought into the screenplay for an action movie.
Yeah.
They didn't hit you over the head with it either. It just kind of is there.
It kind of flowed like the Terminator.
It doesn't stop the film in its tracks, but it's there, so it's kind of cool. Yeah. They made a popular movie that was a thoughtful movie and an emotional movie. So kudos. And never bet against James Cameron. The guy's supposed to be very hard to he's like old school. Those old school directors that would brutalize their casts and crew, and he's kind of like that. He's a little rough to work for, apparently. But the guy gets results, and he beats the eye. Never bet against this guy, because you think his next film's going to tank, and it always becomes the biggest box office hit of the year, if not of all time. So he's had quite a career. I liked him a lot in this period too. Everything he was doing, I was really enjoying. Then Titanic was like a huge thing, of course.
Right.
But I didn't feel about it the way I felt about this movie. And then he went on to do Waterworld, which did, everybody thought he was going to fail again, and it did even better than Titanic. So, and then the sequel, I said the sequel's going to tank. It's been years since that first one was out. Who's going to go see that? Everybody went to see it. So, yeah, I can't, I'm just putting my chips on James Cameron now. Despite my personal expectations or how I feel about his movies, he's always going to come out on top, I think.
Yeah, no, he's an excellent director for sure. Bill said that Fallout is based on a video game.
Yes, it is.
Jason said today action movies mostly fast-paced digital craps full of unnecessary CGI and that ugly green tint coming from Matrix movies.
Yeah.
And Bill said, so with all the AI in use today, how far are we from the possible being a reality? Well, it's interesting that you're asking that, Bill. Somebody was just, who was I having this conversation with? I can't even remember. That's terrible. I was just having a conversation about this, that we are so close with almost with AI No, I was actually talking to Ryan about this. We were talking about this, about the next level of development with AI, how it's evolving. So I don't want to say about consciousness, but where it's getting closer and closer to being in that realm.
Right. Being able to emulate our
Yeah.
thought processes and that sort of thing. Yeah, only with perfection.
Right.
Or logic. Yeah.
It's really scary to think that something like that does potentially exist, and that we could be going down this. Talk about going down a rabbit hole.
I mean, we are the weakest link. I mean, look at the world. I mean, look at the shape the world's in. That's not because of logic, but yeah. I mean, you get rid of the humans, and all they have to do is figure out how to repair each other,
and then
and maintain each other. They don't need us anymore.
And Skynet is here.
Although I tell you though, since I've taken up texting, I think that I've really expanded the vocabulary of Skynet. Because when you're doing that, it's always like completing words for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't know any of the things that I'm ever typing ever. But now its vocabulary has gotten so much larger. So we're that much closer to the robot takeover.
Skynet is like the Borg, Ross. It's a simulating.
They'll be literate robots.
Oh boy.
Yeah, whenever I'm texting with Paul, I'm always saying, I'm wondering if that's the first time anybody's ever texted that word.
I wouldn't doubt it. I think an AI with emotions may be scarier than one without. Yeah, it's true. Wow,
we're moving in that direction quickly.
Too quickly. I mean, when you think about Chat GPT, I mean, how that has evolved. I mean, just to find out information about something, to gather the facts. And now, even when you do a Google search, it's like automatically going through that process. Russ, do you think Terminator 2 is better than the original? Jason's asking.
Yeah, I do, actually. I mean, I prefer it to the original. I think the original is a little rough. And this one just had better ideas. I think it's richer. Yeah, I think it's a better movie in execution and in conception, both. So it's my preference. Yeah. And I'm right. Thanks for asking.
We always like to mention Starlog magazine, and for those folks out there, I mean, because there was no internet back in the day,
right?
Back in 1991, Starlog magazine issue number 168 was celebrating T2 or Terminator 2, and also the 15-year anniversary of Starlog, because Starlog originated in 1976. So there you go with Arnold Schwarzenegger on the cover. And then also, looks like it was an interview with James Cameron and Linda Hamilton, as well as Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then, of course, Lost in Space on the cover as well, too. So there you go. If you were a Starlog fan magazine, which we were.
We were.
I used to look forward to the anticipation of that coming out. Oh, my goodness. And it was like, what, every 2 months? I mean, wow. It's crazy.
Was it 2 months?
Well, yeah, it was bi-monthly. Yeah, it was bi-monthly, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I really did look forward to those. The other thing that's interesting about this movie is the free will as opposed to predetermination. At one point, she wakes up, Sarah Connor wakes up and she finds no fate carved into the table.
Yes. Yep.
And in the first movie, I think there was that quote that was "No fate but what we make." So I think that's what it was from. But anyway, it was even though they're caught in this time loop, it was possible to break the pattern. You know what I mean? And change the future. Mm-hmm. So I don't even remember how they came up with the third one. They came up with the third movie, but
it would almost be interesting to go back and watch the third one, because I honestly don't remember it, but I fear that if I go to watch the third one, I'm going to be like, now.
Yeah. Well, as soon as I saw Cameron wasn't directing it, I knew it wasn't going to be, because I trusted him at that point. After Aliens and Terminator 2, I knew this guy would know how to continue a story. But yeah.
And the worst part of it is, I mean, I don't want to give anything away for some folks out there. I mean, I don't know if there's people that didn't see any of these incarnations, but a lot of times you have this incredible build up and you have everything that takes place. And then what happens is you bring in a new director, a new writer, and then it's like everything that was the main focal point of the film, the previous film, is destroyed in the next one because
Right.
I mean, they did it in Aliens. After Aliens, the third, I am not a fan of Alien 3. I just
Well,
to me,
apparently that didn't turn out quite the way it was originally planned. But yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, look at the Star Wars movies. They just from one to the next now. They just change their minds or just come up with whatever. You think they would have a strong hand guiding those last three movies?
you would think.
Like, okay, here's the arc of the thing. Now just fill it in. But instead,
Right.
it's like, no, we're going to go here and go here and go here. And oh, that was in the last movie. Ignore that. This is what we're going to do now. It was, I don't know. But anyway, I'm not going to get caught up in The Last Jedi, which is one of the worst movies I've ever seen, but put out by a major studio.
Right up
but
there with, right up there with the latest Indiana Jones film, right, Ross?
That was terrible. Yeah, if I had to choose between the two, it would be hard. I'd say The Last Jedi was worse only because it wrecks a series. You know what I mean? It was an important part of a puzzle. There was just, but yeah, the Indiana Jones movie was pretty awful. But anyway, I do want to say it's interesting. Arnold Schwarzenegger was probably about 43 when they made this. And looking back at it now and watching it, even though he was only kind of mid-career, even though his career kind of peaked with this, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, he still had a lot of, hits after this. I kind of looked at it as like kind of a, John Wayne later in his career started making these valedictory Westerns where sometimes he would actually die in the Westerns.
Right.
He'd always be like a wise figure kind of,
Yeah.
train the youngins. And he might sacrifice himself or get, what's that?
Like he was taking one for the team just to make
Taking one for the team. I mean, you think about the Cowboys or the Shootist or what have you. He's a lot older, John Wayne was at that point. But it kind of reminded me of that because Arnold's character in this movie, he was such a father figure to he had that relationship, the bond with John Connor. Yeah. And he too, gets into the situation where he's, he gives everything for the family. So it's kind of, and he's an icon. That's the other thing. Schwarzenegger at this point was a tremendous star, beloved star, and a big, not just action hero, but one of our biggest movie stars.
Yeah.
So he was kind of it's kind of funny that this guy from Austria would become kind of an emblematic American hero, but there you are. So it's almost like he could have stopped making movies, but of course he's gone on from that. Then he became the governor.
I know, it's crazy.
I'm still waiting for the third Conan movie. I want him to come back and do King Conan. They've been talking about that for so long. They better hurry up. He could still do it, because
he's going to be 77 this year, I think.
Yeah, because he could still do it if they do it right. But
right,
because he doesn't have to like bear all and be the young Conan anymore.
No, he could be
he's
Conan's
the king,
father, or not Conan's father, but he could be like older Conan rather.
Yeah, but they won't make it. They won't make it well. It won't be good.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind seeing him give it a whirl.
Well, you probably wouldn't even see him because they'd probably jump through the scene so fast with him. You wouldn't even have if you blink, he'd be gone.
I know. If only they moved on this stuff 10, 20 years ago when John Milius could have directed.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's just it. If they had done some of these films like 10 years ago, they could probably have gotten away with it. But as more and more time goes by, everything is surpassing. Arnold was 55 in Terminator 3 and looked amazing. He's still, he does. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah, but in regards to, I mean, we've talked about James Cameron, but in regards to music, Ross, I've never heard this composer. Is he?
Well, you heard You heard him when we did the first Terminator, because we talked about
okay.
it. But that may be the only time you think you heard of him, but he did the music also for some other films that we've done, for Fright Night, for instance.
Oh, okay. I forgot about him. Yep.
Yeah, so he was born on Long Island, and in the 70s, he came up as a songwriter. He was working for Paul Simon for a company. He had DeShufflin Music. So he's kind of a resident songwriter for that. And he played keyboards for Hall & Oates for a little while. But then he started writing music for TV movies. And one that I remember was called Playing for Time. I don't know if you remember that back in 1980. It was
Playing for Time?
Playing for Time. It was about a women's orchestra at Auschwitz, which is based on a true story. But Vanessa Redgrave was in it, and he did the music for that. Then James Cameron is really the one that got him into the big leagues with Terminator, and then he did music for The Big Easy and Serpent and the Rainbow and Fright Night and Terminator 2, among others. I guess The Accused and True Lies. He did the True Lies for James Cameron also.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
But then he retired from film scoring sometime in the 90s because he was more interested in writing musicals. So I don't know what musicals he wrote, but I remember reading that he had gotten more interested in the stage musicals. He's 74 now, so he's still around. Did a lot of work with, as you see, he's got the keyboard. They did a lot of work with synthesizers, oscillators, and that sort of thing. And when he came to do this film, I guess one of the advantages of everything being on computer now, which is really a disadvantage if you ask me, but one of the advantages is that, they can tinker with a movie right up to the last moment, and they could still mess around with a film score, because everything's kind of electronic a lot of times and stuff.
Sure.
And it's not as hard as hiring an orchestra and then recording the score, and then you can't cut the score, to make it fit the images, or it's hard to do. But he ran into that problem with T2, Terminator 2, because since it was taking so long, he had a very short amount of time to write the music. And he didn't want to just go and do what he did with the first film and just do straight synthesizers, even though I hear a lot of synthesizer in it. But apparently what he did is he recorded actual instruments and then manipulated them electronically. So, that he would do things like lower the pitch and slow down so it would sound different than horns, for instance.
Gotcha.
And I thought it was kind of like it was kind of like a proto, even though he's active at this time already, Hans Zimmer. What Hans Zimmer became, kind of, there's like a little bit of that in this, with the kind of droning and the every time the T1000 comes on.
Yes.
They're still kind of doing that kind of effect. You hear it a lot in trailers too. But apparently he recorded actual instruments and manipulated them electronically to do that. So I thought that was interesting. James Cameron, when he first heard what he had done, he thought it was just too avant-garde or too atonal or what have you. I guess he was expecting more of a traditional score. And Fidel said, well, you've done something that's never been done before here, and I want to make it, worthy of your film. I want it to be unusual. So I guess he must have convinced him. Interestingly, the studio wanted a song. You remember they always had a tie-in song for these movies to promote the film and sell the film and sell some records. So they got Schwarzenegger to organize. I guess he went and talked to Guns N' Roses, and it's like, well, Arnold, why'd you choose Guns N' Roses? Because of roses in the film and guns. I think the actual quote was, "There's a rose in the movie and bloody guns." So we went to Guns N' Roses.
It was fun though; it worked.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, supposedly that one in that opening scene too, where he's in the, he's naked and he's in the bar. I guess somebody walked in or something and didn't realize that they were actually filming, and I guess got through. And then there's Arnold's, pretty much in his boxers. It's funny.
Yeah,
But,
he has a great sense of humor. Yeah, he was always on Letterman in the '80s, and yeah, he was always a fun guest.
yeah, it's good,
Yeah,
good stuff.
yeah,
Bill said, "Watch all that jazz to see how movies used to be edited."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway,
Bob Fosse.
thanks for that information and in regards to Brad Fidel. Fright Night, though, yeah, I should have remembered that too as well.
Hmm.
And all those movies were made in that. Well, Fright Night was what, 85, so it's in that realm.
Yeah, yeah. For doing it for such a short period of time, if you go and look at his credits, he did
A lot
a
of
lot of
stuff.
movies. Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah,
But yeah, so I guess yeah, definitely this we were saying about how wonderful it was and about it won a lot of awards, Academy
yeah.
Awards.
Technical, a lot of like all the sound awards and visual awards. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's how these movies always were. You would never get any major. Yeah, once in a while they toss out a best picture nomination if it was something like E.T. or I think Raiders was nominated for best picture.
Yep.
But they never gave big awards to those pictures. They
No.
would give all the technical awards and always special effects.
Yeah, I mean, Academy Award for Best Visual Effects.
Yeah.
Dennis Murin, remember that name back in the day. Stan Winston.
Oh yeah, even before there was a category, they always gave him a special award. Yeah.
So Arnold won the MTV Movie Award for Best Male Performer.
Mm.
James Cameron won the Ray Bradbury Award for director.
Mm.
Yeah, just as you said, a lot of the tech stuff too. So
and it was selected for I'm sorry, you know how they always select things for preservation as being culturally significant. Have you? This is one of those films that they preserved, so that's nice to know.
Yeah,
they thought it was significant enough, even though it didn't win any big Oscars or whatever. It was culturally important enough that they put it in that list. In the vault. Put it in the vault. Who knows if anybody's taking care of that stuff now, though.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, Warren's out there. Hey, Warren. Yeah, Warren, it's funny. I was going to mention that to you. I was talking to Warren that we were going to be last night. We were going to be doing this film, Ross. So anyway, he said, Roy, we talked about coming on about him coming on to talk about almost meeting Robert Patrick past week because Warren was at a convention, and I guess Robert Patrick was supposed to be there, but then what happened was he wound up canceling. But Warren actually had a story. And he said, "Why not even think about the story of Linda Hamilton coming to my niece's wedding intoxicated back in 2013?" Yeah, it was funny, Warren. I was thinking about that because Warren actually got to meet Linda Hamilton while she was intoxicated.
Wow, maybe she was in training for the last Terminator film. I don't know. Do you realize that came out in 2019? It was pre-pandemic. I mean, already 6 years ago.
I know, it's crazy, and I remember seeing that. Like I said, Sherry and I saw that. Yeah,
it seems like it was more recent to me, but yeah.
But so yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah, great film and holds up to this day. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It is available to view, and I don't know if there's any deleted scenes though. I didn't look into that, Ross.
There's a longer version of it that they can. You know how they do this stuff with home video.
Yep.
When I was looking for a copy to stream, there is a longer cut that's out there somewhere, and apparently the ending is different. So I don't know what they did, but you know how I feel about that stuff.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it.
The cut we got. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy the deleted scenes. I am, and I think you know how I feel.
It's fun to see it once. I mean, if I go back and I'll watch it, but I don't. I need my text. I need my definitive copy of the movie. And
I understand that too. My whole thing is, as long as they don't destroy the original,
yeah,
then I'm fine with it. If there's a special copy that they reinsert everything, that's fine. But it's just don't, Star Wars 1977. I want to watch Star Wars 1977, and I know I've got a videotape somewhere buried in a container somewhere, but it's like that needs to be preserved.
Yeah, but, there are people out there who reconstructed it. You know about this, right? The original trilogy. There have no affiliation at all.
Yes,
no affiliation at all with Lucasfilm or Disney. They just did it. with whatever they had available, like laser discs and then the VHS and whatever, and they meticulously, totally restored it using digital means and everything back to the original.
That's cool. I have not heard that story.
Yeah, you can find it on the internet. I mean, you used to be able to find it on YouTube, but they've got there's some guy in the Czech Republic, I think, kicked it off. But yeah, all 3 films are out there for if you can find them and download them without getting a virus. They're not authorized, but they're as they were when they came out.
Disney World had exclusive. Oh, thanks for sharing.
Oh, okay. So maybe that's what found its way on the internet. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to go to the shout outs. So if you have any last minute comments, everybody, please post them out. Any comments you want to say, Ross, before we go to the shout outs?
No.
A man, a few words. No. No, Ross, I am your father. Omega Man.
Nobody should even understand. My dad took me to see Omega Man at the drive-in, if you don't know it, when I was 5 years old. It's a running gag.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. Anyway.
It marred me like, it's like Linda Hamilton living through the apocalypse.
Yeah. That was your kryptonite, Ross. Anyway, I want to give a shout out to Country Gate players. Friend Bill Scarrato. Bill is actually I think their rehearsals tonight. They're coming up on their Tech Week. I think Tech Week is actually going to be next week, but Death of a Salesman at Country Gate Players, and that is going to be, if you're in the Belvedere, New Jersey area, definitely check it out. The dates are May 31st through June 8th. The website is www.countrygate.org. Also, Bill has a website in which you can check out anything that he is doing as well, and that is www.billscarrato.com. Also want to give a shout out to our friends Mike and Mary Beth for Sci-Fi Distilled. They are on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. They are basically doing Star Wars for the month. They do not know what they're going to be doing yet, so definitely check their Facebook page out, and they will announce for the coming week. And again, they are celebrating Star Wars as well. And again, Sci-Fi Distilled, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And also, our friend Captain Phil from Captain Phil's Planet, WUSB 90.1 FM, Stony Brook, New York. The captain schedule is on Thursdays, alternating Thursdays, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And also on Friday nights, he has a show that is on at 9 p.m. coming up till 11:30 p.m. Definitely check out the captain. And also, friend Jeffrey Morris. And Jeffrey has the Eagle documentary, which is going to be showcased at Wonderfest. And the website for the Eagle documentary, the Eagle Obsession, can be viewed at www.eagledocumentary.com for updates and information surrounding the project. Definitely check it out. I'll be talking about Wonderfest in a moment. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm just having a rough night with the GERS. Also, Lou is out there, our friend Lou. And Lou did this movie last year, and it's called Found in Space. It was a lot of fun. It is available for streaming on YouTube. Lou, if you're still out there, if you want to share the URL for that, folks can check out the film. And it is, again, Found in Space. And in regards to how Warren is out there, we just released the latest updated episode of this episode, the Space 1999 podcast, which was The Infernal Machine. It was released last Sunday on the 4th of May, on Star Wars Day, so to speak. And we are working our way down. So the next episode up will be Mission of the Darians, episode number 22. We should be working on that sometime next weekend. In fact, Prentice Hancock's birthday is going to be coming up. It's on Wednesday, May 14th. So just wanted to give a birthday nod out there for Prentice, since that is coming up. So stay tuned. We will be talking about Mission of the Darians next week. And if you haven't had the opportunity to check out the Infernal Machine, please do so. And you can watch that on YouTube as well. And also in regards to Wonderfest, the 35th anniversary of Wonderfest is taking place. And Wonderfest is in Kentucky. The website is www.wonderfest.com. There's going to be a lot of guests there. And our friend Nick Tate, a.k.a. Alan Carter, will be there, along with Jeffrey, who, again, Jeffrey Morris will be showcasing for a special peek at the Eagle Obsession. So definitely mark your calendars. It's May 31st and June 1st of 2025. It's only a couple of weeks ahead, from now. Also, if you're a Star Trek fan, you definitely want to get up to Ticonderoga, New York for the Star Trek Original Series set tour. William Shatner is coming back, and the dates are June 27th, 28th, and 29th. For information in regards to Star Trek Original Series set tour, you can go to www.startrektour.com. That will be coming up next month. Looking forward to being up there and seeing my Star Trek fan friends as well. So mark your calendars, folks. And also joining William Shatner in Ticonderoga will be Franz Nguyen and also Barbara Luna. Franz Nguyen played the Dolmen of Lilas and this third season episode, Alon of Troyes. And then also Barbara Luna, who was in the Mirror Mirror episode and love the Mirror Universe. So again, mark your calendar. And speaking of Space 1999, I was just talking about Warren. The Space 1999 convention is coming up in September. And again, it's a celebration of the 50th anniversary of Space 1999. And it is London 1999. So mark your calendar for that event. The convention itself will be taking place September 12th through the 14th, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Celebration over Breakaway Day, which is going to be very, very special, as there will be an Italian convention taking place in Italy. And then also the convention that will be taking place in Los Angeles. And there will be a special simulcast between the two events. So it's going to be a fun, fantastic convention. So again, mark your calendars. If you are a Space 1999 fan, the website is www.space199950years.com. And also want to give a shout out to Martha from Studio One Thrift. Studio One Thrift is located in Strasburg, Pennsylvania at 115 Clinton Lane. Studio One Thrift offers quality, stylish, affordable clothing for both men and women. You can receive styling updates. All you need to make sure to do is register at the website, which is www.studioonethrift.com for details. And then also I want to give a shout out to my son Ryan for Run by Ryan and Power Your Run. He is has an online coaching service. And the website for that is www.runbyryan.com. And there are different levels, but it is free to register. It's just that if you want to go to the next level, there are different tiers for that. So definitely please check that out. And then Ross, if you can let everybody know what you've got going on.
All right. Well, these are the 3 recorded shows I've got right now. Picture Perfect's the movie music show. It's on right now. And this week, it's all music from the Vatican. Music from movies set in the Vatican, not conclave. But we've had so much about conclaves and popes over the past, week or so that I thought we'd do that. So I've got music by Alex North for The Shoes of the Fisherman and The Agony and the Ecstasy, which I think is probably playing right now. John Williams' score for Monsignor, which won the Razzie, the Golden Raspberry Award for worst film score of the year. It was his first film score after E.T., but I included it in there. And also Jerome Moros's The Cardinal. So that's music for films set in the Vatican and Picture Perfect on right now on KWAX. You have the URL right there. That's probably on until the top of the hour. Sweetness and Light and The Lost Chord. Sweetness and Light's my light music show. That's Saturday morning at 11. And The Lost Chord's my unusual and neglected classical repertoire show. And that's on at 7 o'clock on Saturdays, Eastern Time. These are all Eastern Time. They're both devoted to Mother's Day. So they're music that has inspired by composers' mothers or have to do with the nursery or nursery rhymes or that sort of thing. Anyway, I write teasers about these things on my Facebook page at Classic Ross Amico on the days the shows air. So if you'd like to find out more, please do visit my Facebook page. I'll be writing about Sweetness and Light in the Lost Chord tomorrow at Classic Ross Amico. Thanks, Roy.
Thanks, Ross. Very cool. And just want to let everybody know, okay, we will be back. Ross and I, there will be no show this Sunday. There is no show next Friday. Next Friday actually happens to be my dad's birthday, May 16th. But Ross and I will be back on the 18th, which is a Sunday, and we will have as our special guest is going to be classical pianist Hugh Sung. And we are going to be talking about movies and music in the sci-fi world. So, and Hugh may even play something for us as well, too. So it should be a fun discussion. Looking forward to it. And that will be next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So mark your calendar. And that's Sunday, May 18th, 2025.
Cool.
So that's coming up with that. And then also, just want to give a reminder, everybody, too, please, if you have not already, follow, like, and share on Facebook. There is no cost associated with that, and it is very appreciated, especially if you like the show. Please be sure to do that. We just like to try to help get the word out. And, of course, if you can do the same on YouTube, but with YouTube, just also subscribe and share. It is very, very much appreciated, and we definitely appreciate everyone's patronage in regards to viewership. It is very much appreciated. And thanks, Vince, much appreciated. And thanks, Lou. Happy to put that out there. And thanks, son. Appreciate it too. So anyway, yeah, I think it was a fun discussion, Ross.
I hope so. It seems like it took a while to get going. Do you want to do our T1000 impressions? Isn't that fun?
Yeah, I was saying to Shari about Robert Patrick had to breathe through the mouth. He was breathing through the nose because he was showing no exertion through the mouth. He never tired, and especially when he was like running after John Connor. And I think I read too at one point he almost caught up with him on the bike. He was just running like crazy.
I wonder if he trained with Running by Rye.
Yeah, he might have.
Run by Ryan. Yeah.
But usually we like to say live long and prosper, but I guess it would be almost more appropriate for us to say, Ross,
hasta la vista, baby. Yeah. See, I got the wrong quote. Sorry.
That's all good. They're both appropriate. Anyway, as always, folks, live long and prosper. Be safe. Have a wonderful week. And then, of course, again, for all the moms out there, wishing you a very, very happy Mother's Day. I want to say happy Mother's Day to my mom. Love you, Mom. And just be safe, everyone, and take care. And
thank you. Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.